Hello everyone, welcome to another session of Easy Dharma for the New Normal. My name is Pastor Niral. And just before we begin today's session, we'll just see who is online. Since we've just started, I don't think there's going to be many people online. So, I'd just like to say that today's session is actually going to be the last session of the series of Easy Dharma for the New Normal, which is the reading of Introduction to Buddhism. Okay. So today will be the last session of Introduction to Buddhism, and we'll be coming up with a new and exciting program for the new year. So please do keep an eye out for information about that, which will be on the Kechara Facebook page, and we have exciting new programs for next year. I hope the sound is better now. Yvonne is online. Good evening to you. I hope you're doing well tonight and everybody's safe and you're doing well. Just a reminder, if anybody does have any questions, please do ask on the comment section. Today's session is going to be a little tough, a little complicated to understand, because we are at the end of the book today and it gets a little bit complicated because we kind of touch on a little bit the theory of emptiness. So we're not going to cover that in too much detail, but I'll give a very, very broad general overview of that later on. So over the last couple of sessions, we have been talking about the 6 perfections. And the 6 perfections are Dana, Sila, Kshanti, generosity, moral discipline, and patience. And then joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom. So today's session is going to concentrate on the last 2 of these 6 perfections. So it's going to be concentration, also known as mental stability, and wisdom. Okay, let's see who is online. I see Gillian is online. Good evening to you. Shelley Tai is online. Good evening. Nice to see you here. Munteng and Esther Gold. Thank you all so much for joining today's session. So today's session is going to be a little bit of a whirlwind, covering the last 2 of the 6 perfections and also a little bit about the theory of emptiness. So I'm just going to get into the last of the 2 perfections. Now remember, if you go back a couple of sessions, to be a perfection, any quality that you are practicing has to have the correct motivation. And the motivation here is what is known as bodhicitta. Okay? So it is the motivation to better yourself and to transform yourself and ultimately to reach enlightenment so that you can benefit other sentient beings. And it is not only that motivation, it is also your journey of self-transformation, your journey of practicing virtuous qualities, qualities that improve your life, qualities that transform your mind, should also benefit other people at the same time that you're practicing. So that in essence is what bodhicitta is. So if you want to know more about that, please do watch, I think it was about 4 sessions ago already that I talked about bodhicitta and what it is, and the 2 forms of bodhicitta. So the form of bodhicitta that we at our level is called aspiring bodhicitta, which means that not everything that we do is going to be motivated by this compassion. But we need to train ourselves in order so that in the future it becomes natural. It is an instinct for us to do everything from a point of compassion towards other sentient beings. So that's why we need to remind ourselves constantly that we need to do this for sentient beings. So when you practice any of the 6 qualities with this motivation behind it, it becomes the perfection of that quality. For example, if you are giving a gift to your friend, that is generosity. But if you're giving a gift to a friend with the motivation of helping that person to better their own lives, and at the same time to develop the energy of generosity within you so that you can achieve enlightenment and then come back and help that particular friend, then just that one act, the same act, now becomes the perfection of generosity. So that applies across the board to all of the 6 perfections. The first 4 of the 6 perfections are all things that you can use to benefit other people directly. For example, you can show generosity to somebody to help them. You can be extremely patient with somebody to help them overcome their problems. You can have moral discipline so you don't end up harming another person, etc., etc. Now, when you get to the last 2 of the 6 perfections, these are more of an internal perfection. They're internal qualities, attributes that you actually need to develop on a more individual level. And the first of these is called concentration, or otherwise known as mental stability. So let's see, I see got a couple of other people online. Sukfan is online, Alex, and also Yiman. Thank you very much for joining today's session. So, mental stability or concentration. Before I get into it, let me talk about this word concentration or focus. Now, from a spiritual perspective, what we term as concentration or focus is slightly different from what we kind of understand concentration to be. For example, if you're listening to a piece of music, all right, and I think everybody here will know that they have a favorite song that they like listening to. So at certain times when you're listening to this song, you'll be quite relaxed. You'll be sitting down or whatever, and then you just close your eyes and you just listen to the sounds of the song. And from a normal perspective, you'd actually be thinking that, okay, I'm listening, I'm concentrating on the sound of the song. This isn't the sort of concentration that we talk about when we're talking about concentration as one of the 6 perfections, or mental stability as one of the 6 perfections. This concentration is much more refined and it's much more focused than any other sort of focus that you have experienced previously. And this comes about through meditation. And it is, for those of you who have studied the Lam Rim, it is also called mental quiescence. Okay? It's a big long term, but you can just think of it as concentration. So a lot of the times in Buddhism, we hear about concentration meditation or single-pointed concentration, and that all refers to this one type of meditation. Now in Buddhism, we have 2 types of meditation. I'll get into the second one a little later, but I want to concentrate on the first one now. When you do this type of meditation, it builds your focus in such a way that your normal thought processes, the normal thoughts that go into your head, they no longer affect you. For example, I think everybody here probably has had a taster of breathing meditation. Now, I know a lot of you have probably joined JP's sessions on the weekends, and this is actually a form of single-pointed concentration. So in this type of meditation, what you do is you focus on one thing, and you focus on it single-pointedly, which means that you only think about this one thing. You only, if you're using a physical object, for example, say my bookmark, I look at my bookmark and I focus on it, and any other thought that comes into my head, I try to put to the side and concentrate on my bookmark. Now, if you've done the breathing meditation, the technique is exactly the same, but what you're concentrating on is different. What you're concentrating on is your breath. So in terms of Buddhist meditation, this is known as the object that you're concentrating on. So when you're doing the breathing meditation, your object is the breath. When you're doing, for example, if I'm concentrating on my bookmark, my object is the bookmark. So what happens in this type of meditation is when you concentrate on something and you focus on it, you will notice that you have many different types of thoughts that come into your head. Why am I sitting cross-legged? My foot's fallen asleep. Or, it's 9:30. When's Pastor Niral going to finish his sharing session so that we can go for supper? Or it can be something as simple as, I better get to sleep soon because I need to wake up early tomorrow for work. All of these sorts of thoughts come into your head. And they're not actually coming into your head. What you're actually doing now is you're actually seeing the thought processes that go through your mind on a day-to-day level. Usually, we're not actually conscious of these thought processes. One thought obviously leads to another thought, and it's a train. It keeps going, and it's non-stop. So when you do single-pointed concentration, what you are doing is, because you are so tightly focused on a particular object, for example, the breath, you're able to see this train, your train of thought, literally your train of thought, okay? And when you're able to see this, what you do is you don't go with your thoughts. You actually focus back on to your object, which in this case would be your breathing. So what happens is you stop your train of thought. So for example, if I don't stop my train of thought, maybe I'm thinking I better go to sleep soon. I've got to get into work tomorrow early. Then the next thought on would be, oh, did I fill up my gas tank? Is there enough gas in the tank for me to get to work? The thought after that would be, what happens when I get to work? Am I going to find a parking space? Then the next thought would be, I better make sure to have my key card to get into work. So your thought process goes on and on and on. So what single-pointed concentration does is it tries to, when you engage in the meditation, it tries to stop that thought process from going and taking your mind with it. So here, basically, in single-pointed concentration, you are trying to relax. It's a relaxed focus, okay? And you take a step back and you see your thoughts going through your mind. But when you see them, you don't hang on to them, you let them go, and you bring your focus back on to your object, which is breathing. When this happens and when you're able to achieve this, it's quite wonderful, actually. You develop what is known as calm abiding or tranquil abiding. Okay? In this type of meditation, there are 9 levels that you achieve when you're practicing this. And each of these 9 levels, at each of these 9 levels, you see that your concentration on your object, which is the breath, intensifies. As it intensifies, you see that you are able to take a step back and see your thought processes, but not go with them. Okay? And at the same time as that happens, you see how your thought processes work, in that how your delusions of attachment work, of how anger works, of how ignorance works, of how hatred works, from your own perspective. Now, you have heard and you have read and we've discussed about these negative delusions so far, and how detrimental they are to yourself and to others. But to truly understand how that works within your own mind, you need to practice this type of meditation. And when you practice this type of meditation, you see exactly how these delusions affect your train of thought. So as you progress on these 9 levels, I'm not going to get into that because it's a very deep topic. The last stage is called calm abiding. So usually we hear or we read that the terms concentration meditation, single pointed concentration, and calm abiding or tranquil abiding are actually used interchangeably. But actually that's not the case. You practice concentration meditation and you achieve calm abiding. So what it means when you achieve calm abiding, it means that you can focus on any object without being distracted from your thought processes, which in turn are based on your delusions, your anger, your desire, etc., etc. And when you do that, you notice some very special things start to happen. One is, as the name suggests, calm abiding. You become a very, very calm person. So when you do that, no matter sort of what sort of situations come at you in life, you're able to be centered, you're able to be grounded, you're able to be calm. At the same time, because you are working with your mind becomes very, very pliant. It becomes very, very, you're able to use it better. Okay? For example, if you put your mind to doing a particular task or a particular project, for example, you will see that you're more focused on getting it done and less distracted from other things. When you do this, as your mind becomes calmer, within Buddhism we say that the mind, within our body we have a lot of psychic energy channels. And when our minds are very deluded or have a lot of anger, desire, etc., the winds in our bodies don't actually flow properly. When you practice single-pointed concentration, what happens is as you calm your mind down, the energies in your body actually start to flow a lot better. So within texts such as the Lamrim, it's said that if you practice this type of meditation, you can see improvements physically as well. So your body feels lighter. You're able to use your body to do things more than you would be. And it takes less effort to do physical activity. And this all comes about from this single-pointed concentration. When you do this meditation on a supernatural level, there are also some things that happen. Because you're able to calm your mind down in such a way, one of the side benefits of single-pointed concentration is improved memory, improved recall of events in your life, and this actually even extends into previous lives as well. So when people practice this type of meditation consistently and work their way through these 9 levels, you can actually recall your previous lives. Now, how long does it take, all right, to achieve the state of calm abiding? Now, within the Lamrim teachings, it actually says that you can actually achieve the state of calm abiding within 6 months of practice every single day. And if you practice every single day, at least 4 times a day, and if you engage in it properly, then you can achieve the level of calm abiding within 6 months. Now, this technique, calm of meditation, is actually used by many different traditions, not just Buddhist traditions, but other religious traditions or meditative traditions as well. Within the Buddhist framework, if you practice single-pointed concentration meditation and you go with it, and you don't practice the wisdom part of it, which is the next thing that I'll get into, you actually work your way up in the samsara. For example, what I mean by that, if you go back to sessions that I had previously, I talked about the 6 realms of existence, which is the 3 lower realms, the hell realms, the hungry ghost realms and the animal realms, and then you have the three higher realms: the human realm, the demigod realm, and the god realm. Okay? And to achieve the highest of the god realms, if you can achieve that by just practicing single-pointed concentration meditation. The more you practice single-pointed concentration, the higher your mind will go in terms of samsara. So you can actually achieve the God realm by practicing single-pointed concentration and lessening two of your delusions. And those two delusions are actually desire and anger. When you do that, which actually comes about naturally when you're practicing single-pointed concentration, when you take rebirth in the future, you will be reborn in the God realm. But Buddhist practice differs from other traditions that practice this type of meditation, because once you have achieved calm abiding, you don't go further or train further in single-pointed concentration. What you do is you use this ability that you have gained, and you use it to practice what is known as wisdom meditation, also known as insight meditation. So a lot of you have probably heard of the term vipassana meditation. This is actually the second type of meditation. This is the wisdom meditation. And this wisdom meditation is actually the sixth perfection. But before you go on to practice that, you need to have a very firm grounding in single-pointed concentration and have achieved some form of calm abiding. Then you switch over to the insight meditation, or the wisdom meditation, as it is also known. Now, when you're practicing the sixth perfection, there's two levels to it. It's called wisdom, and there's a difference between the thing that we usually term as wisdom and the Buddhist term of wisdom. For example, when we talk about wisdom, what we're actually talking about is actually intellect. Okay? For example, somebody who knows how to build a rocket ship is usually called a wise person because they know how to build a rocket ship. But actually, it's not the case. Here, what this person actually has is a very, very sharp intellect and a training to be able to build a rocket ship to go into space. That, from a Buddhist perspective, is not wisdom. Wisdom is actually known within Buddhist terms, there's two levels of it. The first level is the ability to know what is virtuous and what is not virtuous, and having enough knowledge to be able to tell the difference. So by this, what do I mean? I mean, a wise person within Buddhism is somebody who knows that killing is wrong because it leads to negative karma. Saving lives is good because it saves lives and stops sentient beings from suffering. So on one level, that is what wisdom is. On another level, wisdom is also the practice of wisdom meditation. Now, wisdom meditation is a bit more complicated. You use this wisdom meditation to meditate on emptiness. Okay, but before you get to that, you need to use it and understand how it works. All right, so now it gets a bit complicated. So, okay, all right. So I'm going to take an object. The object is my bookmark. Intellectually, I know this is a bookmark, and it has a function to be a marker within a book so that I know where I have read up until. So what I do when I'm practicing wisdom meditation is I concentrate on the bookmark. So first I use single-pointed concentration meditation. and I concentrate on the bookmark. I concentrate on the shape. I concentrate not only on the shape, but also on what it is and how it relates to me. For example, it is a bookmark. Then you meditate on what is a bookmark. What is a bookmark made of? Where did it come from? What is its purpose? What is its use? So here you're using two things at the same time. One, I'm thinking about the bookmark, so I'm using the wisdom insight aspect of it. I'm thinking about the bookmark from all angles. What it is, how big it is, what its color is, what it looks like, what I use it for, what it means to me. And when you're doing that, what happens is your mind is naturally going to go off and, try to do something else. For example, the top of this bookmark is orange. Orange is my train of thought after I realize it's orange is, oh, orange is my favorite color. Oh, I used to have a nice sweater that was an orange color. It's a bit cold in here. Maybe I should wear a sweater. So your natural tendency is actually to go off. One thought leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. So when you're doing insight meditation or wisdom meditation, you can't hold your focus on the object that you're concentrating on. So here is where you bring in the single-pointed concentration meditation. Because now you have a very strong focus, the ability to focus on something. You use that with insight meditation, and together you focus on your object. So when you focus on your object using these two methods simultaneously, so you're concentrating just on the bookmark, so you're using the first type of meditation, and then you're thinking about the bookmark and its qualities. That's the second type of meditation. So the first is mental stability, and the second is what is known as wisdom meditation or insight meditation. When you do these two together, then you can really get what is known as insights from your meditation. Now, I don't know if that made sense. Okay? So I'm going to repeat it again. The first type of meditation is to develop a very, very focused concentration. The second type of meditation is used to think about a particular object and analyze a particular object. But in order to do this properly and not be distracted, you need that concentration. So here, the highest point of meditation within Buddhism is the use of both of these meditations together. Okay? I hope I explained that well enough. I'm sure there are questions. Let's see who else is online. Karen is online, Mr. Lam, Tata Ong, Sharon, I think that's Kwan Ming, and Pastor Honey. So, does anybody have any questions so far? If you do, please ask. And if not, then I will try to. Mr. Lam says, indeed profound. It is. Yeah.
Your description of insight meditation sounds like analytical. Is it the same or not the same?
Okay. I have an audience today, and Pastor David helping me behind the camera. Pastor David asked a question that my description of what I call insight meditation is quite similar to what is termed analytical meditation. Are they the same? And the answer is yes, they are the same. Okay? Insight meditation and analytical meditation are both the same. Yeah. It's the same thing. Okay. Got a question from Iman. Hi, Pastor Niral. When you explained on meditation just now, you mentioned about engaging it properly and to have a firm grounding. Can you please explain what is considered as engaging meditation properly and having a firm grounding? Okay. Engaging in meditation properly involves a few things. The first is actually to have the correct body posture. Now, the correct body posture is known as the 7 point, was it 8 point? 7-point Vairochana meditation posture, and that is to have your legs crossed in Vajra position. I'm not going to get into it because this is actually what JP does with all of you on his Sunday programs. So it is to have the correct posture. It is to have the spine straight.
7-point Vairochana.
Okay, 7-point Vairochana posture. The spine should be straight. Your shoulders shouldn't be arched forward. Now they'd be too back. They should be quite level. The placement of your hands and everything. This will actually lead to a natural flow when you sit in this particular posture. The reason why it is so important within Buddhism is because, especially when you're meditating, is when you sit in this posture, what happens is the energies. It is a posture that allows energy to flow easier. And when your energy flows easier, it is easier for you to meditate. Because it is said in Vajrayana Buddhism that the mind rides on the wind. So the wind is your energy, and the mind rides on the wind. So if your wind is flowing, or your energy is flowing better, then it is easier for you to work with your mind. So one of the ways in which to engage in it properly is to have a correct body posture, or as best as you can get it. All right. Now, the second thing is, and this is actually the most important of part of engaging in meditation, is to know what your object is and to concentrate on your object. So earlier, my object was the bookmark, but most of the time when we engage in this type of meditation, our object is the breath. It is just the motion of breathing in and breathing out. And where you focus, you actually focus here when you breathe in and out. So what you are actually focusing on is the sensation of the air moving on this part. Okay? That is your actual point of concentration. That is where you're concentrating. So the usual technique that you'll hear when you're engaging in meditation is to relax and then to breathe in and to breathe out and to breathe in and breathe out and be aware of your breathing. But the actual point of concentration is here. Now, when you do this meditation, at the beginning, you are going to have the thought, I need to breathe in, I need to breathe out. I need to breathe in, I need to breathe out. Then the I when you practice it a while, the I kind of disappears a little bit. So then you just say breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And over a while, when you're practicing that, what happens, the words, go out of your head, breathe in, breathe out, and you just do it naturally because you've habituated yourself to do it. When you reach that stage and you concentrate on the sensation of breathing in and breathing out here, you're able to hone your focus more. That's for breathing meditation. There are other forms of meditation that you can use. The object can be any object. For example, for myself, when I do breathing meditation, I find it quite hard. But if I have a physical object that I'm looking at, for example, a bookmark, if I place it in front of me like this, all right, not holding it up, but down, and I just look at it, it is easier for me to focus on this than it is on my breath. There's other ways that you can do it as well. Within our Gelug tradition, which is one very important feature, is that this meditation can actually be done when you're doing your daily sadhana. Now, how do you do that when you're doing your daily sadhana? It's very, very simple. You engage in your visualization. When you engage in your visualization, you are visualizing a Buddha form. So now, instead of looking at my bookmark or breathing in and out, what I'm concentrating on is the image of a Buddha deity. And then when you're reciting your mantras, you have the various lights coming from the deity washing over you, or various different visualizations for different deities. When you engage in that, and if you do it properly, means that you don't allow your mind to get distracted by other thoughts. If you do have other thoughts, you acknowledge that you have those thoughts, but you don't go with them. You bring your focus back to your visualization, just as you would do in your breathing meditation. That becomes single-pointed concentration. Now, within the Buddhist framework, when you visualize within the Buddhist framework, if you're simply focusing on your breath, you are developing single-pointed concentration, but you are not generating merit. Okay? It is just a mental ability that you're developing. When you combine it in with your sadhana and use your visualization as your object, you are actually generating merit. You're generating merit at the same time that you're using single-pointed concentration, because your point of focus is a Buddha deity, is an enlightened being. So when you're doing your sadhana, you practice single-pointed concentration and you generate merit at the same time. One question that I always get is, what is the difference between the type of meditation that we're talking about and the normal type of meditation that you get out there? So if you think about the way that meditation is taught or practiced not within a Buddhist context, just within a context to relax yourself or to ground yourself. The way that it is taught is you should relax and you should just breathe in and breathe out. If any thought comes into your head, then you push it to the side. Perfect. This is following the Buddhist framework so far. But then you get to a point where they say that your mind should be blank. Your mind should be completely empty. And for people that have done this sort of meditation, this actually does happen. They meditate, and then over a time they get so used to this type of meditation that they're not conscious of any thought going through their head. According to the Buddhist framework, this is not meditation. Okay? This is literally zoning out. Okay? This is just literally just zoning out, so you have no thoughts in your head. According to the Buddhist framework, that is not meditation. Meditation always has an object. It always focuses on something. So if your focus isn't on this something, then you're not meditating. You're just, zoning out, basically. And obviously, I can understand how zoning out does help, because life is stressful. You do need a break from your thoughts sometimes. Okay, and it does help, but from a Buddhist perspective, that is not the what meditation is. So meditation always focuses on something. So when you're practicing this, your focus, for example, is your breath, is your breathing, your in and your out. If you're doing this type of meditation and you zone out and you forget about your breathing and you're not focused on your breathing, it is not single-pointed concentration meditation. So that's why we always, when we guide meditation sessions, we always tell people to, bring your focus back to your breathing, to constantly bring your focus back, bring your focus back, bring your focus back. That is engaging in single-pointed concentration properly. Okay, and having a firm grounding. What do I mean by having a firm grounding? Having a firm grounding means that when you need to practice it enough so it becomes almost second nature. So as soon as you sit down in a meditation cushion, as soon as you breathe in and out, you're focused already. Okay? That is what I mean by having a firm grounding. So firm grounding here is basically making sure that you have trained yourself enough to do this particular meditation. And when you have that, you that firm grounding is basically calm abiding. It's that state that you get to when you are very, very focused on something. Now, there's one interesting thing that happens. It's not in Introduction to Buddhism, but I'll mention it a little bit. When you do single-pointed concentration meditation, And I'm going to use my bookmark again. Sorry, I keep using my bookmark. When you do single-pointed concentration enough, what happens is, I'm not talking about the wisdom or analytical insight section of it yet, just single-pointed concentration. I'm looking at a bookmark, it. Okay? So, if I get it right, I'm the object and the bookmark is the subject. Okay. So when you do single-pointed concentration meditation, your focus is so strong, it will get so strong over time that the object-subject distinction, the distinction between me and the bookmark, for a short period of time, no longer exists. Okay? Which means that when you're engaged in this meditation properly, because your focus is so strong and so focused just on the bookmark itself, on what it looks like, because I'm using my sight at this point, I forget, or the thought goes out of my head that there's a difference between myself and the bookmark. Okay? When you achieve this level, this is what is known as calm abiding, and this is what is 100% necessary to have in order for insight meditation to be successful. Okay? And I will touch a little bit on that now, I think, if I have no more questions. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Pastor David said it's also known as Mahamudra, which is true. Yep. So if I've got no other questions, I will go on to the theory. Okay, very, very brief. I'm not an expert at this at all. Okay, and I don't even know it properly, of emptiness. Okay, so the highest forms of meditation in Buddhism, for you to achieve enlightenment, you use single-pointed concentration and you use analytical meditation together, and you focus on, what you meditate on is emptiness. And within the book, there are two forms of emptiness that you meditate on. And I'm going to, first is the emptiness of the I, me, my concept of the self. Okay? And the second is emptiness of the body. I'm not going to get onto the body because I think just the concept of the I should be enough. Okay? Now, when we think about things, when we think about ourselves, when we think about other people, when we think about objects, we always think about these being inherently existent, which means we always think they are as they are, and they're always like that. Okay? We don't necessarily think that a particular object is made up of different parts. Okay? For example, I'm just going to go straight into from the book, okay? When you do this sort of meditation, what you need to do is you need to have an image or an idea of what you are meditating on. So here the first part of this meditation is to build up an image, or to recognize that you understand the I or the self and how you understand it. Okay? So for example, you can imagine your body, you can imagine your mind, you can imagine you. And you have an image built up in your mind when you're doing this meditation. This is what the self is. This is what I am. Okay? So technically speaking, this is known as identifying the object of negation. What you're going to do in this meditation is you're going to negate this object, which means that you're going to realize that this object doesn't exist the way that you think it does. So, but first you need to identify what that particular object is. In this case, it's the I. Then, using the two types of meditation we talked about earlier, you analyze this object from many, many different angles. Okay? So this is called refuting the object. Now, in terms of the I, traditionally speaking, according to Buddhist logic, all right, the I should only exist in 4 different ways. Okay, the first is the I exists as the physical body. 1. 2, it exists as the mind. 3, it exists as the collection of the body and the mind together. And number 4 is it is something that is separate from both the body and the mind. So there's 4 ways that you need to think about. Okay. If the I is the body, then there is no reason that you would think that this is my body, because your body and you are one and the same. So when you think about parts of your body, or your body as a whole, you think about it as my body, which means your body, something owns your body, and the thing that owns your body is the I. But this isn't the case. Okay, so that wait, it gets complicated. Okay. All right, another way to think of it is I, as a self, I can solve a mathematical problem. If the I and my body and the body is the exact same thing, that would actually infer that the body can solve a mathematical equation, which isn't the case, because we all know that what solves a mathematical equation is not the body, it's the mind. So the I isn't the body. Okay? All right. I'm looking at Pastor David to see if this makes any sense. Does it make sense? Okay. All right. Now, when we're talking, so that's the body. So the I isn't the body. Okay? Now, the mind. If the I is actually your mind, then you wouldn't say things like my mind. Okay? Because your mind and the sense of I, the sense of self, would be exactly the same. Okay? I'm sure I'm confusing everybody because Pastor David is laughing behind the camera. Okay? It's quite complicated, this one. Okay, now all right. So that we have seen that the I, the sense of self, doesn't exist in the body, and it doesn't exist in the mind. So it also means that you don't, if you put the body and the mind together, because neither of those parts make up the self, if you put them together, there'll still be no self. There will still be no I. Okay? All right. Now, I don't know if you've understood that or not. Even on an intellectual level, it is very, very complicated. And again, I'm not the best person to talk about this at all, but I just wanted to give you a brief overview of the sort of type of meditation, the type of contemplation that you go through when you are doing this highest form of meditation within Buddhism. So you look at a particular object. So again, this object is the I. And you examine it from different perspectives. So we examine the sense of the I or the self from the aspect of the body. We've found out that the I isn't the body. So then you look at it from the sense of the mind. Then we analyzed it very, very briefly, and we realized that the mind also isn't the self. So here we see that the self isn't the body, and the self isn't the mind. So when you go along this train of contemplation meditation, you get to the point where you realize that actually the I or the self doesn't exist. And when you reach that point, it is known as an understanding of emptiness. And this is the meditation that leads you to become an enlightened being. Okay? There's actually various stages that you go through within this as well to eventually get to that particular point. Okay? That is not to say that we don't exist. Okay? Some people, when they're doing that, they get, and when they have some form of understanding of emptiness, even the beginning levels of it, when they do when they start doing it, they have either two experiences. One experience they have is they physically feel a sense of relief. Okay? The other is that they have a sense of despair, because they just realize that nothing exists inherently. Everything exists dependent on something else. So it goes back to the theory of dependent origination. Okay? Which means that yes, things do exist. Things exist because of other things. Okay? I exist because of my parents. My parents exist because of their parents. So on and so on. Even myself, I exist in the form I am now because I have food to eat. I have nice vegetables to eat. Vegetables exist dependent on other vegetables. You know, they grew from a seed. That seed came from somewhere. So everything within existence is dependent on each other. But the problem is that we see things as being very, very individual, being very, very distinct, that they inherently exist as a vegetable, or I inherently exist. So the point of engaging in meditation on emptiness is to realize that the way that I think about the world, the way that I think about samsara, the way that I think about me, doesn't exist in the way that I think it does. I don't fully understand that everything is dependent on everything else. I don't go about my life from that understanding. I go about my life from the understanding that I am sitting here on this sofa. I am giving a sharing to you. You are sitting on your sofa, or you are sitting on your chair. My thought processes always revolve around things, sentient beings, situations as being very, very distinct, that they inherently exist. Okay? So that's a very, very quick overview of meditating on emptiness. Okay? Let's see who else is online. Okay, LC Toy is online. Good evening to you. Hello. Sharon Ong says, is the feeling of being one with the universe a sign of deep meditation? It really depends on what you mean by being one with the universe. Okay? If you are a Buddha, you are one with the universe. Okay? You are one with the universe because you have understood emptiness. And when you've understood emptiness, you know that everything is interconnected, everything is dependent on everything else. But I think that there's kind of one with the universe that I think that you're talking about can actually fall under two categories. One is actually being a heightened awareness of the universe. So a lot of the times when we do meditation, some people develop a very heightened ability to of being what is termed as being one with the universe. So that would be they are very attuned to various energies or various situations, or they may find that when they come out of meditation that they are, they sense things about other people, how they're feeling, or what the weather is going to be like the next day, or what something like that. That isn't actually speaking, that feeling isn't something mystical at all. That feeling actually comes about, it's not a feeling actually. That is a side benefit of developing concentration. And how you... Okay, I'll give an example. Some people, I had a friend of mine who practiced meditation, and every time she got out of her meditation, anybody she'd meet, she would kind of already know what they were thinking, or what, how they were feeling that particular day. So she would say or do something that actually made people think that she was a bit psychic, because she, I'm angry. How does she know I'm angry? It's not that actually. It is because she was developing a heightened sense of concentration. So when you know somebody, and because you have so many experiences with them in the past, when you see them and when you have a heightened sense of concentration, you already know that they are in a particular frame of mind, because you notice or you concentrate on certain traits that they have. So for example, you might know that if they move in a certain way, they're going through a particular emotion. A bit like body language, reading body language or something like that, but even more subtler than that. Even like on an energetical level, you can tell. That all comes about from concentration. It is all part of concentration, of developing that concentration. There are times when people will be in meditation where they feel like they are one with the universe, and where it is a bit more mystical, in the sense that they can feel energies, or they feel the energy of the universe, and they feel its ebbs and its tides, and how like how it is working, how things are flowing. And that again isn't actually anything mystical. Actually, that is simply that you are developing some form of concentration. Because again, this is something, as we're all interconnected, this is something that we can actually feel, that we can actually comprehend. When you develop concentration meditation, you will notice these things happen more. These awarenesses, basically, of the universe, of energies, of awarenesses of how other people are feeling, of how a particular situation is, things like that. Very, very broad. And this all comes about through concentration. The other type of feeling at one with the universe actually goes back to when you're meditating, but you lose your object. You lose your focus on your object. So remember earlier I said that some people kind of like, what did I use the word? Space out. They space out and there's no thoughts going through their head. Some people call that being one with the universe, and it's not. It is just that you're literally just spaced out. So in that case, what you would do, again, you'd bring your focus back onto your object of meditation. Okay? I hope that answers your question. Please let me know. Leave a comment. Let me know if it does answer your question. Anybody else have any more questions for me today? So what we talked about today so far is I have talked about the fifth perfection, which is concentration or mental stability. How we practice that breathing meditation. And then number 6, I talked about wisdom. So there's 2 levels of wisdom. One is knowing what is virtuous and what is not virtuous. What will lead to karma, what will lead to merit, what the results of doing something is. That is a type of wisdom. The other type of wisdom is to analyze a particular object or a particular idea in depth from all angles. And the highest form of meditation in Buddhism is using both of these together and contemplating and meditating on emptiness. Now, within the book, there is one extra section at the back, and this talks about how a bodhisattva engages in practicing the six perfections coupled with meditation and achieves various states, various levels, all the way up until enlightenment. I'm not going to get into that because it's very, very technical, and I don't think that it is useful at this point. But what I'm going to say at this point is that remember, when you're practicing the six perfections, I think most of you have heard about them before. The key is to have bodhicitta, or to have the motivation to help other sentient beings. When you have this motivation, then your actions actually naturally become one of the perfections. And as you progress on practicing the perfections, you are able to generate a lot of merit and purify a lot of negative karma. And obviously the last of the six perfections actually lead you all the way up until enlightenment itself, if you do practice it properly. Okay? So, I don't see any more questions, so I just want to thank today's sponsor, who is anonymous. So today's session is dedicated to all beings' liberation from suffering and attainment of compassion, wisdom, and true happiness. A very, very good aim, a very, very good motivation, a very, very good dedication. This shouldn't be something that we just verbalize or we just write. We need to put it into practice, and that's what the six perfections are all about. So I think I'll end the session there. It was quite complicated, I think, today. I hope you all followed along. Just let everybody know that this will be the last session of Easy Dharma for the New Normal, following Introduction to Buddhism. We will be back with you next year with an entirely new and exciting program for online Dharma. So I hope you will join us then, and stay tuned to the Kechara Facebook page, because there'll be more details over the next couple of weeks about our new programs in the new year. So thank you very much. Wishing everybody a happy new year, and stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.